This is my 5 W's of Epicureanism. Who? The founder of Epicureanism was named Epicurus, and he was an ancient Greek philosopher born in 341 BC to Athenian parents on the island of Samos. He began his philosophical journey at the age of 14 after a school teacher couldn't explain to him what the concept of chaos meant. So what exactly is living an Epicureanist lifestyle? So it involves living very modestly, controlling your bodily urges, like the urges to have sex and the urges to overeat or overdrink, valuing friendships much more than relationships. I think he felt that way because of his perception of sex and then that leading to children. And then that also includes moderation of all of the inputs of life and not pursuing too much knowledge, but Epicurus included that you should pursue enough knowledge to not follow gods or believe in gods. So there is a fine line. So where exactly did Epicureanism begin its footing as a mainstream philosophy? So Epicurus and his followers moved to Athens and bought some property, which was a garden, and built a school that they called Ho Kepos, which translates to in garden, or the garden. So there they lived and kind of lived as an experiment, and that experiment was so popular and successful that the philosophies spread all over the Mediterranean. Epicureanism remained as a very mainstream philosophy after Ho Kepos was becoming popular after 307 BC. And it pretty much stayed that way until the 5th century when monasteries began popping up and becoming the new philosophical dominant force in the Mediterranean. But surprisingly, the monasteries used a lot of the same philosophical points as Epicureanism. So the ultimate question is, why? Why subject yourself to living such a modest, simple lifestyle? Well, it's all in the pursuit of happiness, as Epicurus and a lot of philosophers at the time, philosophers who coined Stoicism, etc., they considered happiness to be the most important thing you can look for in life. So by getting rid of all of the anxieties, all of the kind of expectations that life brings you, just doing the absolute essential for living, well, then there's no expectations, there's nothing that can really get in your way. So they said that living together as friends was really the most enjoyable thing they could do, just being themselves and being together. So Epicurus is quoted as saying, "Do not spoil what you have by desiring what you have not. Remember that what you now have was once among the things you only hoped for." So the question I pose is, how can we use some of the Epicurean philosophy in our own lives to help us become more grateful and fulfilled? I'd answer this question by considering previous experiences I've had where I strive for something, I get it, and then nothing. But if I had been looking from the perspective of my former self, of myself in the past, I would have considered myself to be very lucky. So by appreciating the things that we've earned, the things that we've been given in life, I think that we can become more satisfied instead of just reaching for the next rung on the ladder. So my final question is there a way we can modernize Epicureanism, or can it be compared to other modern philosophies? So in my own opinion, I practice minimalism, And minimalism, just a really quick kind of rundown, is just breaking down your life into what the essentials are for what your passions are and what makes you happy, and not following the rat race of jumping into a 4-year college and then getting a office job and then retiring at 65 or older and getting married just to get married, and those types of philosophies, right? So I think that the overlap is that we're taking out the parts of life that are frustrating, that have friction, and are completely unnecessary. And while I think Epicureanists, the living together with friends, I wouldn't consider that really a minimalist philosophy on its own. But if that was something as a minimalist that you pursued, then by all means, you'd be encouraged to drop all of your stuff and go live with a bunch of people. So, yeah, that was my presentation on Epicureanism, and I hope that it kind of furthered your horizons, broadened your horizons regarding Epicureanism as a philosophy you can apply to your own life, even in a little way. So, thank you for listening.